I want to start this video off by saying I don't hate Nathaniel Bandy. I think this dude has made a lot of fantastic content that I enjoyed a lot as a kid. But I will say his video that he made on the pricing and his perspective on the Nintendo Switch 2 is just very out of touch from another seasoned Nintendo fan. I wanted to give my experience as somebody who actually plays games outside of Nintendo and is not really going to buy into this $80 Nintendo nonsense. So let's talk about some of the improvements this guy listed. And I say improvements because they're not really improvements.
The colors are so vibrant, everything is so bright. It's one of the cleanest looking Nintendo games I've ever seen, and it was really surreal because I'm so used to Nintendo games being a little bit lower on the graphical fidelity side, which, you know, is totally fine. I think this could end up being one of the nicest and best running games too. There was no frame rate issues whatsoever. I didn't have any problems with any of that.
One of the things that this guy said was, oh, the game has no frame rate issues, okay? The graphics are actually a little bit better compared to the old Nintendo games. He said something along the lines of like, oh, when I play Nintendo games, I don't expect them to look as good as this, which is kind of an issue, my man. I think this is where we're starting with my issues with the video. Like, dude, we need to raise our standards as gamers. If you really care about the quality of these games, you should be expecting 4K. You should be expecting this stuff to look good and run smoothly. Like, this should be the status quo, my man. If we're starting off with this being a reason why it might be worth $80 or just a positive to the game at all, I'm not really seeing it as that because, again, that's how it should be. Another thing that he mentioned was that
in terms of the controls, this is what I really wanted to talk about. It feels very much like Mario Kart 8. You know, just moving around, just the speed that you're going at. Now, of course, we were forced to play at 100cc. We couldn't try 150, but yeah, I mean, it feels very, very much like Mario Kart 8.
It feels kind of the same as Mario Kart 8, which I think is alright, I guess. I would want a little bit of maybe smoother gameplay, maybe them to try and add some kind of improvements, but it's like Mario Kart. It's a really simple game. I think what this proves is they haven't made any changes beyond the aesthetics and what they're trying to use to rope people in. And I feel like this next point that he makes kind of goes back on, like, kind of adds on to this a little more.
You can trick multiple times now. And this is not just like off of like the ground, right? Like when you're gliding, you can trick as many times as you want. And not just that, but you can trick in different directions. You can trick left, right, forward, and backward. And immediately the first thing I thought of was Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform, because that game can also do the same thing.
He says that he mentions that you can trick multiple times, and it reminds him of Sonic and Sega, which it also reminds me of Sonic and Sega Transform, which also the rest of the Mario Kart game. I mean, come on, you're a plane and you're a boat now. Sega did that back in like 2013. You're 10 years late, Nintendo. You're very, very late with this game. So he also says that you can do multiple tricks like Sonic and Sega, and that there's no difference between doing one trick and 100 tricks. So there was no point to adding that to the game. Like, that's not really a positive. That's just another pointless aesthetic change to the game to try and rope people in, like the decent looking graphics. Like, dude, this is not an improvement. This is just this is the status quo. This is kind of like exactly what we should be expecting from our games, like changes, and more than that, realistically. Like, if I'm doing multiple tricks, I want to get a bigger boost. Sonic and Sega does that. You know, goddamn Mario Kart should be doing it too. I mean, come on, again, this is 10 years ago we're talking about. And this guy also talks about how he paid to go to New York to get this experience, and how even though he paid for this, they forced him to play at 100cc with smart steering on, which I gotta be honest is fucking dystopian. This guy was basically telling us, oh yeah, so they made us hand the controller over to the staff when we got an item so they could use the item for us. Made us pay to drift in the game as well, and we couldn't look at the game for more than 30 seconds, otherwise we'd have to pay an additional $69.99 to Nintendo. But I promise you, it's a really, really good game, and it's a really good, worthwhile experience. This guy goes on to say at the end of his video that
is it gonna be worth $80 though? I mean, I'm gonna say yes with an asterisk. It is a lot of money. Obviously, it's a lot of money, and Nintendo reinforcing that price is okay with everyone else in the game industry is not a good thing. With that said, on an individual scale, how many of you have played, hundreds of hours of Mario Kart? Raise your hand. All of us have played at least 100, 200, 300 hours of Mario Kart 8, if not more. And if not that game, we played hundreds of hours of Mario Kart 7, Wii, Double Dash, the list goes on. Mario Kart is one of those games that people just tend to play a lot. So, are you getting your money's worth for $80? I would say yes, I think you are, but at the same time, I can completely understand why that's not really up anyone's alley or why that's too much.
Like, we've all played hundreds of hours of Mario Kart, so the price on an individual scale is worth it. But you didn't provide any real reason for the game to be worth $80. My man, your standards are so low that Nintendo released a standard Mario Kart game that's it. I was waiting for 10 years ago, and they should have realistically released when the Switch came out. And you're talking about how this is like this revolutionary, fantastic game? My man, they did the bare minimum for this. I'll be honest, I've played 100 hours of Deluxe, and I've played hundreds of hours of the previous Mario Kart games, most of which I got on an emulator because of the good grace of fans, because of the good graces of people who wanted to optimize the experience and allow me to play it on a system that I could actually afford and realistically play it on. It wasn't because of Nintendo. It was because of Nintendo I couldn't play those games, to be honest. It was because of the fans that allowed me to get those experiences, and because of that, I did spend a lot of time on those Mario Kart games, I will admit. And the game looks kind of fun, but I mean, we've had our fun with Mario Kart, man. We've played this. This is the same game re-releasing. We've all played this. Like, y'all, are you really gonna spend $80 on that? He talks about, okay, there's 4K, right, and then there's a couple of gameplay gimmicks that don't really add anything to the gameplay, and the game doesn't even feel that different. What exactly is the improvements on the last Mario Kart game? What are you talking about? What features did they add specifically that make the game worth $80? So I've already played Mario Kart. I'm done with that. I've moved on to bigger, better, and cheaper games. Man, if you pick up Risk of Rain 2, you'll be playing that for hours and hours a day. Like, I had to delete Risk of Rain 2. I was playing it so much, and I realized it was like pointless because I was just spending way too much time on that game. RoboQuest is the same thing for me, man. I paid like 500-600 hours of it, and both of these games are $20. These are $20 games that you can get much more time out of than a basic ass game like Mario Kart. And they're a fourth of the price. What exactly are you talking about that it's worth the game? Like, it's just it's worth the price. Like, it's just a very out of touch perspective, especially from a Nintendo fan. I'm gonna be honest, if you guys are willing to pay that much for the game, you're willingly getting yourself scammed and you're decreasing the quality of the games for everybody else. It's literally that simple. I don't really think there's any more, like, nuance to it than that. You guys are literally willing to buy into a scam because Mario's in it. Are y'all really that stupid? You guys gotta, like, raise your standards, Nintendo fans. I literally watched a video the other day where some guy was like...
Actually, during this section, the music for Tour Bangkok Rush plays, and I'm pretty sure that track is not in this game. I actually heard a lot of music from tracks that are not in this game, and I think that's very, very interesting, because obviously they still need music, and they don't want to make a bunch of original music. Like, if you have a bunch of good music already, why make a bunch of original, right? Cash in on that nostalgia.
Oh yeah, they reuse this music in Mario Kart world, but it's not a big deal because they made all this amazing music before, so why would they make new music? They should make new music because they're making a new fucking game for $80. The least they could do is make some new goddamn music, man. The least they could do is add a new song for every goddamn track. That's the very, very, very least they can do. I don't think this guy is like a bad guy or anything, but it's like, again, I bet you with your like thousands of dollars in like YouTube revenue and all this Nintendo merch, I bet you can justify spending $80 for Mario Kart. I bet maybe some of the people that watch your video might be able to, but as somebody who has experience with these games, it's important to be really honest with people. And it's important to be honest about your experiences. Like, as a person who's played a lot of Nintendo games, when I spend $60 for their stuff, I feel like it's a waste of money. And just being quite truthful, yeah, I've had a lot of fun with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and the DLC that I acquired. But I'm not going to sit here and talk about the fact that it's worth the money, because it's not. And I'm not going to sit here and tell other more impressionable people that $80 for a video game is worth it, because it's not. That's not something that you and your experiences that can determine. Realistically, when you can buy these games that are a fraction of the price and just spend more time on, like, just try to find one of those games. I guarantee you will. And once you do, you'll realize how much of an idiot you are for paying $80 for stuff like that. We need to make our standards higher. We need to especially take the next generation that our standards for games need to be higher. Gaming is a hobby. Right? Gaming is not a luxury. It's not something that everybody can afford, right? And we're at this point, right? People can't afford to live. We shouldn't be justifying blatantly greedy and stupid prices for video games by saying, oh yeah, but you'll play the games a lot, right? Yeah, as you should. These games should provide hours of value for your life. And coming from a multi-billion dollar company like Nintendo, they should be affordable. They should be, honestly, pretty cheap. There's no reason they need to produce these games for a crazy amount of money. Like, it's just insane. And this guy says, oh, they should add these updates for free, but they're not. And you know they're not. They're going to add DLC. They're going to make you pay for more. Like, Nintendo is going to go further with this pricing strategy. You know it, but you don't acknowledge it because it defeats all of what you're saying. And man, just be honest with these younger folks, right? Tell them what it is. An $80 video game is an objective scam. There is no game in this universe that you can get that's worth $80. No matter if it has all the content in it that you need for a game in your lifetime, it's not worth $80. And I'll be honest, the reason I say that is because there are games like Cuphead that have been hand drawn, and it's one guy doing the whole orchestra. It's not like that, but $80 for something like Mario Kart, and then it's $20 for Cuphead with hand drawn graphics and fantastic gameplay, and you'll spend hours. Dude, get the fuck out of here. You guys need to really understand that you're not really providing any value with a perspective like that. And what you're doing is you're taking the gaming industry, you're taking it from where it is, and you're saying, oh, we need to bring it back here. Like, dude, come on. Let's get real and let's be honest. The Nintendo Switch 2 is a scam, and nobody should be buying it for $500 for the price of a Steam Deck, and nobody should be spending $80 on games.